Hey guys, it's Pi and welcome to another Conquerors tutorial video. Today I'm going to show you the win in 30-minute strategy. I couldn't think of a better name other than, the fact that this strategy will pretty much guarantee you win in 30 minutes. So little bit of background for this strategy is that you're going to be using this strategy against random people, you're going to be using it against casuals. I would definitely not recommend this strategy against people who genuinely know how to play the game. But for 95% of Conquerors matches, unless you stage the match yourself, this strategy is going to work just fine for you. Why should you listen to me? So I am a Conquerors player. I've been playing the Conquerors for the better part of a decade now, all the way even back to the original Conquerors. And I was in the Conquerors 3 Alpha, I was in the Conquerors 3 Beta. I was a member of the Conquerors 3 Wiki for a while. I wrote a few articles on there, and then I also played competitively for a little bit. So I am the man to trust when it comes to the Conquerors 3. So as with any game, and this is a 7-step strategy that I came up with, and a couple of steps will happen simultaneously. But the first thing we're going to do, like in any Conquerors game, is we are going to get an income. And that means building power plants at every crystal on your home island and quickly expanding to other islands surrounding you. Alright, you want to have at the very minimum about 80 to 120 depending on the map, depending on how many crystals there are on the map. If you're playing on Mansion where there's only 9 crystals or whatever it is, you're gonna have less income than on some of the bigger maps like Golf Course that have a trillion billion crystals. Alright, there are a couple numbers that you want to think about when you are building power plants. The first one and the most important one is what I like to call return on investment. When you're going for a quick game in the Conquerors, your power plants do not even necessarily need to survive. In my opinion, all your power plants need to do is survive for at least 6.5 minutes. Why that number? Because that number is how long it takes for you to make your money back. 6.5 is your return on investment. This is why we build we build power plants over nuclear plants, because nuclear plants have a return on investment of 9.3 minutes, while power plants have uh, excuse me, have the aforementioned 6.5. And oil rigs can even be better than that. Oil rigs can even have a faster return on investment. So when you're building up your economy, you're going to take about the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game building up a solid economy. It's going to depend on what map you're on and how many crystals are on the map, but 8 to 10 is a good rule of thumb. Very good rule of thumb. Alright, you've got all of our oil rigs up. So I'm going to show you a little bit about oil. If you're playing on a map with more than 3 oil, it's going to be worthwhile for you to build oil, and you should build your oil before you build most of your power plants. Here's why. This column here on the very right of this table, very right of, oops, not showing up, there we go, that's going to be trippy for you guys on YouTube. But this right here, this column here on the right is your return on investment. It takes the cost of the dock and the cost of your oil ships and divides it by the income that the plants provide to give you how long it'll take before you get your money back. And you'll see that at 3, your return on investment is 6.17, which is less than 6.5. So it's better for you to build 3 oil ships than it is for you to build 3 power plants, and your return on investment gets even better and better and better as you get down into 10 oil rigs, which would be like the Middle East map. Alright, enough talking. I wasted enough time. By the way, this is very hard to record. I am not used to running all around the map and trying to play as professionally as I always play while also explaining what I'm doing. Okay, so we're getting up some more power plants. We're getting to a pretty solid economic situation here. We're going to have about 80 per minute, and we haven't even gotten to our allies' island yet. All right.
You can sell your dog. I made one.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Tom.
No problem.
All right. It's been about 5 minutes in the game. We're gonna sell the dock that we made, and we're gonna also sell the construction yard when we can. Just wanted to get some of our money back. This strategy requires that you be very, very, very quick. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting our enemies on the defensive. And so we need to be faster than them so that we aren't having to backpedal ourselves. Let's go ahead and get that scout over there, and these two guys can get back in the ship. Go ahead.
Pi, look at that image I sent you.
I'm not going to look at that while I'm recording.
Yeah, it's for the best.
Yeah, I figured it would be. Okay.
Alright, whenever you catch it, message me.
I'll try to remember that.
Never remember shit.
Alright, now we got a couple of guys together. And we got pretty much all of the power plants that we're going to be needing in this game. Ally coordination is always very, very important. It's especially important in this strategy. Since you're going quick and since you're trying to stop your opponent's growth as soon as possible, you need to be using all assets available. Alright, just a little longer. And then as soon as I get this last power plant up right here, you're going to start to see this strategy develop. So I'm going to take all of my soldiers and I'm going to put them on transport ship. I'm going to take every single soldier that I have and I'm going to put it on a transport ship. And then what I'm going to want to do is I need to start building an army. Your main goal is to pressure your opponent and to stop your opponent's growth and to isolate your opponent. So we need to put pressure on our opponent, and the best way to do that is to build a barracks on their island, or if you're on a Pangea map, by their by their CCs, by their command centers. And if they're not defending well, which 9 times out of 10 they are not, you can see right here we have a power crystal. All we have to do is destroy these 2 plants right here, and then we can build our own barracks on their island, and we can essentially lock them down. Alright, and Tom.
Are you making the barracks? Or...
Yeah, I'll be making the barracks here in a little bit, so I want you to spam your troops as soon as you can.
Alright, and how long? Like a minute or so?
Yeah, it depends on how fast these plants are going to go down. They're going to go down pretty quick. Yep, so here we are at the 9 minutes. The beginning of the game is done with. The initial plant building phase is over. So here we are, we're starting to take out their plants. As always with attacking power plants, you're going to want to build your own power plant at the crystal first. When you build your own power plant crystal there, it stops your opponents from turret spamming or bunker spamming or AA turret spamming, because they can't build turrets when there's an enemy building nearby. So as soon as you place down your power plant, they can't put anything else there to defend their power crystal. Very important strategy, very important tidbit. You always want to be building power plants when you're going in and attacking. Right, and now Tom is coming over. Tom is going to help me. Thank you, Mr. Ally, for helping me out. We're going to make quick work of these plants.
This is what you call not a victory royale.
Come on in, Tom. The nuclear plant's fine. Now, if we were smart and our ally, me and Tom, had actually coordinated better, what we could have done is saved one of our construction soldiers, and we could have actually built the barracks up here on this plateau where it would have been invulnerable. That would have been the ideal
That's
strategy,
pretty
but we didn't actually think that far ahead, unfortunately. Whoops.
always plan out your
Mhm. All right, so Green's power plant is about to go down. We're going to place down our barracks. And you can see if you're quick, your enemy's going to have almost nothing to stop you. All right, barracks is down. As soon as your barracks is down, you're going to want to spam heavy soldiers. Heavy soldiers are by far the most cost-effective unit in the game. They are going to be your workhorses for almost every strategy, and especially for this one, this rushing strategy. In fact, we care about our soldiers so much that we are going to build a soldier house at our base, and also a research center to go along with it, because we want our infantry to be very, very powerful in this game. Alright, so now we have a barracks on our enemy's island. And now we can move on, now that we've built up a little bit of an army, we can move on to step 3. So step 1 was growing your income. Step 2 was building the racks and building an army. Step 3 is to isolate and stop our opponent's growth. The easiest way to do this on any map with islands is to go and attack their docks. They could have transport ships still around, but if you destroy these docks and if you're watching, they will be trapped on their home island, and that is exactly where we want them. And because they are trapped on their home island, you can actually go and build even more power plants all across the map if you really want to. It's always a good idea to keep your transport ships even if they don't have an immediate use. Alright, so thank you, Tom, for helping me out. So we are 12 minutes into the game, and we've already pretty much stopped our opponents. We're going to start upgrading our soldier caps. Alright, so a lot of people are going to ask about light soldiers, and I prefer to use heavy soldiers, and most people will agree with me that heavy soldiers are going to be better than light soldiers in most circumstances. Let's look at the stats for light soldiers. They have 100 health and they do 1 power. Heavy soldiers have 100 health and 2 power, and they also have a shorter reload time. So if you're using heavy soldiers, or if you're using light soldiers, they're going to be a lot better as meat shields than as offensive units. And since we're going to be wanting to destroy these command centers, we're going to want to be using them as offensive units. Also, another strategy, this is a must-have. You need to build a couple snipers. Snipers are extremely good at countering other infantry units. And since we have cornered our opponents, they're not going to be able to get tanks or anything that can really counter infantry and snipers. So as soon as you get a couple snipers of your own, you are pretty much set. And that is exactly what we want to have happen. Since we have a little bit of extra time, and you might have noticed that we did build a tank factory, since we have a little bit of extra time, we're going to be moving on to the next step, which is to stop our opponent's growth. We're going to go and attack all of our opponent's power plants wherever they are on the map. We're going to find, any outlying units that we can easily pick off, and we are going to destroy them.
They aren't over here. Nothing to see over here.
Yes, this is like the last island that they have. And we're also going to take care of their oil rigs. We're going to take care of their oil rigs, but we're not going to do it with boats. We're actually going to do it with planes. Because Navy is not good, no matter what people say. Navy can always be countered by a good player with air. Right, and you notice that Tom built a tank factory here. As soon as you start to As soon as your opponent is stuck, as soon as your opponent, as soon as you get those snipers up, as soon as you get a barracks, you're going to want to be preparing for destroying their command center. And the best way to do that is either with 4 explosive tanks, or if you have the money to spare, to get a bunch of light tanks on your own. If you didn't know, most of you, I assume, know, but just in case you don't, for the first 20 minutes of a Conquerors game, all of the command centers on the map are buffed. Extremely buffed. As in, they are pretty much impossible to kill. The only thing you can do to use against them is artillery, but you don't even need artillery with this strategy.
I mean, before 20 minutes, CCs can kill a heavy soldier.
Yeah, it's crazy how powerful they are. So we need to be ready to attack right as that clock turns 20 minutes. And the best way to ensure that our attack is successful is to build up a tank factory, get explosive tanks. It takes 3 or 4 explosive tanks for a CC.
It takes 4.
4, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So we're going to get 4 explosive tanks. And you could also use light tanks. Light tanks are going to also be effective. Explosive tanks are going to also be effective, but, in 2 different ways. At least you get a decision when you are taking them out. When you're taking out CCs, you get the choice of using either light tanks or explosive tanks. Why do I use light tanks instead of heavy tanks? Because the light tank's job is to not actually do damage, it's to actually take damage. Let's look at the stats. Heavy tank and a light tank, they both have the same health. They have 275 health. When I go to attack the command center, I'm going to send in my tanks, followed by the infantry. It's going to be just like a blitzkrieg.
They got tank factory up.
Alright. Our opponent, they did get a tank factory up. They're not going to have a lot of money to make tanks, so I'm not really worried. If this was in a real game, I would say that's a mistake on Green's part. That's a mistake. They shouldn't have built a tank factory. What they should have done is the way that you'd counter this is you'd have to build some snipers, maybe you'd get some explosive tanks, or you just have to put red and blue. You have to put me and Tom on the defensive. Once you get your barracks on their island, there's really nothing that they can do, which is exactly where we want them.
Are you gonna make an aircraft carrier or do I get an airport?
I'm gonna get an airport. I almost have enough money.
Sorry, I disconnected. I don't even know how. Hopefully
Tom, how much money do you have?
144. How much you need?
150 for an airport.
There you go.
Thank you.
Everything I got.
Where's the airport? Airport. There's the airport. I'm actually gonna build the airport up there because I'm cool.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have just 1 minute left before we need to start attacking their CCs. Let's get these boys back home, back with their army. We have all 7 tanks. We have 13 soldiers. We both have, Tom and I, we have very strong armies on their own, but together we are basically unstoppable. Tom, are you going to use your explosive tanks against yellow or green?
I could easily just kill yellow with those explosive tanks by myself. I feel since green has more troops and more buildings, it'll be better against them.
Cool. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to get some heavy planes just because I want the extra damage for taking out. These planes are going to be used to take out the enemy's oil rigs. Alright, 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and attack green. You always want to attack your strongest opponent first. Green. Oof. I lost a soldier. Alright. If you didn't know that you can click on a certain type of unit, an infantry, a tank, a plane, or a boat, if you shift and left click on them, it will select all of that type. We are going to send in our tanks first, and then the infantry following. We're going to take one of our units, just happens to be a sniper, and we're going to build a power plant over here. So now that green can't counter us. We're going to continue building some more planes. This is to go ahead and do the cleanup phase. And you see this attack is going very, very, very well. Tom, who's red, he used his explosive tanks very well. And now green is almost out of the game. Green is going to have a construction yard left, and they're going to have a little bit of income from their oil rigs, but we're already taking care of those oil rigs. All right, now all we got to do is turn around, and we're going to head towards yellow. If you're working with your ally, and if you're using light tanks like I am, then you should be able to, excuse me, you should be able to get 2 CCs at one time with the same army. Let's wait for Tom's soldiers to get back here. In the meantime, let's get up a couple more airplanes. And since we have a little bit of time, let's get some more soldiers recruited. Remember, you want to start attacking CCs as soon as that 20-minute mark hits. As soon as that 20-minute mark hits. All right, Tom, you ready? You ready, Tom? Let's go in. Alright, tanks followed by the infantry. We took out their barracks very, very quickly. And now we're going to take out their command center. Very, very nice stuff. Very, very nice stuff. Let's go ahead and build a power plant. I'm going to sell my transport ship at this point so that I can get this power plant. This is because I know that they don't have anything on any other islands. I won't have to transport any troops. Alright, we're now making 150 per minute. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. And because we're making 150 per minute, I wouldn't advise it on this map, but I would consider it for other maps with more crystals. Instead of using planes to do what I like to call step 7 cleanup, you could use space fighters. Space fighters are also effective against cleanup. So yeah, we are at the 23-minute mark, and we've pretty much won the game. All that's left to do is destroy the last remaining oil rigs. We haven't even won in 30 minutes, we've won in 23 minutes. But if you're going very quickly, if you're being very successful, make sure you wait for 25-minute mark before you destroy the last building. That way, you'll make sure to get your skin, your free skin for completing the match. Alright, so remember what we did is we did 7 steps. Step 1, grow your economy. Step 2, build a rack and build an army. Step 3, stop your opponent's growth. Step 4, isolate your opponent. Step 5, grow your army again, this time with tanks. Step 6, destroy the CCs. And then step 7, clean up anything that's left. That's the 7 steps that you need to do to win by 30 minutes. This strategy will work against casuals, it will work against randoms. I would not advise doing it against professional players because they will be fast and they will be able to mostly counter what you're doing. But if you're playing with friends who don't usually play the Conquerors that much, or you're just trying to grind skins, this is the fastest way to get those skins. What do you guys have to say about this strategy? Did it work?
Yeah.
Overpowered.
It's a pretty simple strategy, though. Like the key is just getting a barracks by their base. All right, we've hit the 25-minute mark. Let's go ahead and destroy the last enemy building in this world. And you know what I actually forgot? I forgot that black and purple still have CCs. Isn't that funny? So if this ever happens in your game and maybe a player leaves, At this point, you're going to have so much money in the game that you can just repeat the strategy over again. You can just repeat the strategy over again. You can build a rack on the island with the enemy CC, and then you can just go and, kill them. We're going to go ahead and cut to the end, and we'll see our skins. Alright, so now we're just taking care of black CC. I'm not worried about conserving my army at all. These heavy soldiers should be able to take out this command center, especially with the little bit of air support they're getting. So yeah, here at the end of the game, this is step 7, cleanup. So let's say a player left your game. This is what we're simulating here. All right, so there is black out of the game.
Roblox merch.
Oh,
Can I get,
Roblox
like-
merch. There you go. It's not a half bad idea.
It's gonna die. Bye bye, purple.
Bye bye, purple.
Bye, purple.
You had a great life. You're just standing on it.
Die.
It's like we took over your fort.
Stomp,
Yeah.
stomp, stomp.
Die. Oh, look, I'm just saying.
Whee.
Stomp.
All right, and we should get a winning screen right now.
We won. Oh, I get a. Oh, I
Woo.
get the spin. What do I get? Sorry.
I didn't
I got a
want it.
futuristic gunboat.
I got a
All right,
basic
guys, so
version.
that was the strategy. The great for beginners, great for casuals, great for grinding skins. Good strategy overall, solid strategy. You got to be quick. The strategy forces you to think on your feet. It forces you to communicate with your ally. It's really great for learning the basics of the game. So make sure you guys leave a like, share the strategy with everybody else. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more of the Conquerors. And I'll see you guys next time.